up? We are live. Checking connection. We are telling your followers that you started a live video. Thank you, Instagram. What's up, YouTube? What's up, guys? Hey, what's up? Missy, good to see you. Happy Saturday night. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome, y'all. Welcome. Good to see you guys. I hope everyone's doing really good. What's up, Don? What's up, Eamon? Welcome, you guys. I love it. I've seen some new faces. It's good to see you guys. Happy Saturday night. Hey, Karen. Awesome, guys. Truancy's in the house. What's up, brother? What's going on, all my YouTube peoples? Welcome, you guys. Welcome. Happy Saturday night. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Oh, man. I've had one thing on my mind all day. What's up? What's up? Peace with Pam. I like your name, Pam. Happy Saturday night. Um, as you can tell from the title of the video, I've been contemplating almost obsessively about routine and about how we have our daily routines. Happy day, Flower Zone. Good to see you, my friend. What's up? New Zealand's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Walter, great to see you, brother. Welcome, you guys. Man, it's so good to see everyone. So, all day, right, I've been thinking about this routine and how each of us has one, right? And that has to do with lifestyle. It has to do with the choices that we're making, right? And then we end up calling it fate. Well, it was fate. It was always going to happen, right? But I don't believe that. I don't. I'm like Sarah Connor from Terminator 2. Like, no fate but the one we make. Remember that part where she carves that into the picnic table before she goes to try to assassinate the dude who invented the Terminator? You guys understand what I'm saying? So you've all seen the memes, right? It's not. It's your choices that create your fate. It's your choices that create your routine. And what I'm realizing is that so many people are in a routine that they don't realize is completely patterned by subconscious behavior and is in no way in allowance for their creative spark for hey Holly, good to see you, sweetie, for the divine to show up in their life. Because if you get, and this is how we're wired, guys, we get stuck doing the same things every day. We don't even realize we're doing it, right? Some people are like, I want to brush my teeth with my left hand. Well, that's better than nothing. At least that's a little different, right? The problem and the pitfalls with your routine is if you get so stuck in it, you give the universe, aka God, aka Source, no ability to surprise you in your life. You literally have it like get lost to be surprised. If you're just going by your routine every day, and you're not seeking out the novel, the mystical, in whatever way you can. You don't have to even leave the house to do that, but you should absolutely do it. Most of the time I do that, I'm doing it right here in this seat with my eyes closed, my blindfold on, and 2 hours later in a meditation, I'm back in my body. But I certainly wasn't here for the duration. But what you guys who follow me closely know I do every day is I take time as part of my routine to make sure that I'm conscious of the behaviors that I always have something planned. I just got back from Mexico City. I was hanging out with a bunch of extraterrestrial bodies. No kidding. I'm going to show you the pictures. I'm putting it all together. I was with the Nazca mummies. I was with the Boogosphere. It all happened at complete random. I got a call from an incredible director who directed Unacknowledged, The Lost Century, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, like every single one of Dr. Veer's movies. He's got a book coming out soon. His name is Michael Mazzola. Fantastic, incredible director. And he was on my podcast a long time ago. Anyway, we hit it off really well. So he sends me a text. He's like, you got to talk to this psychic. The psychic is incredible. He changed my life. And I was like, I want to talk to you too, Michael. I was like, I'm going to do this, but I want to talk to you too. I want to know what you're working on, you know? And of course, he just working on documentaries. And um, but he was like, I'm going to take care of the session for you. Just, you got to talk to this guy because I think he'd be a great guest on your podcast. So I do it because it's not every day that Michael calls me and says that, you know, and he was moved to call me. I had an incredible session with this psychic. I'll give you guys his name too at the end. His name is Christopher Laprath. Incredibly talented, mind-blowingly talented. And then the next thing I know, I'm talking to Michael and I'm like, what are you doing? When are you coming back on my podcast? And he's like, I'm going to Mexico City in like 3 days. You know, we're going to look at the Boogosphere and then we're going to see the Nazca mummies. We're shooting a bunch of stuff. And he was like, why don't you come and get some footage for your channel, for your podcast? And he told me about a streaming site that they've been developing for a long time. It's just like all these synchronicities happened because I was willing to go with the flow. I was like, hell yeah, Michael, I'm flying to Mexico City. I want to see the Nazca mummies, you know, like absolutely, you know, I mean, I wasn't going to go to Mexico City for any other reason than something extraterrestrial. No, Mexico City was amazing. The food, amazing. I know some of the streets are tough, but my point is with all of this, like, what are you doing each and every day to kind of break from your routine so that you don't get stuck and find yourself in 10 years, you know, like, how come my friends never call me anymore? Oh, that's right, because I stopped talking to them. I stopped returning their texts. I stopped like making plans with people. I stopped even calling people. People get so stuck in their routine. And then they wonder why in 20 years from now, as they enter their golden years, they have nobody because they didn't cultivate they were not conscious enough to realize that they were falling into a routine that was going to isolate them. And, you know, listen, I tell everyone, nature abhors a vacuum, right? And there's a reason why cancer cells need to separate from the healthy cells in order to gain control and spread, right? Hey, Diana, good to see you. Nature teaches us so much about what's important to us. The problem is, you know, we are sentient, we are conscious, and we are patterned. We're patterned not just from this life, but from every past life. We're patterned from our time in the womb. We have all kinds of hang-ups that many of us are not aware of, but we're becoming more aware of them all the time, right? And so I just want to encourage you guys, because what I've realized is, and this is from observation, this is from experience, is if you're stuck in your ways, if you're doing the same things and to the same people and getting the same results pretty much over and over and over and over and over and over, right? Then you have no idea what you're missing out on. You cannot begin to fathom the amount of surprises that the universe is just literally like, it's like throwing them at your car, which is speeding away, and you just keep speeding away. It is trying to bring the abundance, all the things that you've been thinking about, that you've been hoping for. It's trying to bring those things into your life while you do the same damn thing every single day. And the universe is just sitting back like, how am I supposed to deliver this to Johnny? John, you know, like I can't even get Johnny to take a different route to work. There's no way I can land this thing. You know what I'm saying? The universe loves random, right? Random is like, it's a fake word. There's no such thing as random. The best things that have happened to me, I tell you this, in my life, have been at random, have been because I just, you know, spun the wheel and where the ball fell, that's where I went. You know, that's the door I chose. That's where I put my money. And I trust the universe entirely. Whenever it comes to random, that's my choice, random. I swear to God. Better to allow the universe to surprise you than to try to fit, but with our very limited capacity and even our incredible imaginations, you're still trying to crush an infinite amount of probabilities down to this little freaking tiny thing. And why would you do that? You're eliminating all this magic from your life, you know. And wait, I missed the comment. So guys, I just got these new contacts, and one of them is programmed so that I can read, and the other one's programmed so that I could see far, which is looks and feels a little silly, but I can read the comments on these now. See, Missy said, I like structure, but at times I get stuck in my routines and I miss out on things. Thank you for the reminder. You're welcome, Missy Sue. Listen, we all do. We all do. I do the same thing. I literally drive with my left foot. My family loves when I do that. They're like, stop! No, this is good for my brain. They're like, yeah, what about us? Even the tiniest things, at least then you're forcing yourself to be present in your routine, even if it is brushing your teeth with your left hand, or taking a different route to work and seeing something beautiful. I try to mix it up every way I can, and I always have something in the works. I'm always working on something that is new and exciting. Like I'm reading the psychic who I started telling you guys about, Christopher LeBron. I'm reading his book right now. Well, it turns out like synchronicity after synchronicity after synchronicity. Like it turns out the book that he wrote about his childhood has been turned into a screenplay. Now I happen to used to make money giving screenplays what they call treatments, which is like a ton of work and not worth the money at all. But my manager found out I did it and he started hiring me out. And I was like, dude, stop. It's like, because for me, I'm good at it, but it's a lot of work to go through a screenplay and be, as a film producer, former film producer, sometimes still film producer, it's a lot of work to go through a screenplay and be like, no, this is structured wrong. You cannot start a sentence like this. It has to be in this tense. The heading can't be like that. And then that's just the composition, because that's the first thing that producers will look at. It's almost like looking at Shakespeare. You learn when you learn Shakespeare, you look at the page. Shakespeare doesn't give mood or atmosphere. Shakespeare's mood of his characters is literally defined by the structure of the sentence. And you, as an actor or a good actor, you learn that. And screenplays are similar in a way that, if a producer gets a screenplay and it's just like the whole page is filled, he's not even going to read the first page. He's going to know that this writer has no idea what he's writing. Anyway, my psychic friend is working on he has a screenplay that they are refining with Michael Mazzola, the director from all those movies I just listed. And I was like, dudes, you should send me the script because I'll help you for free, and I will, because I love those guys and because they've got me involved in all these things they're doing with the mummies and the ETs, and it's crazy. But it's wonderful. Sometimes you got to go with the flow, and that may be like break your routine, whatever it may be. And there's a lot of ways to do it. So I love surprise days and nights. Me too, my friend. It feels so uncomfortable doing. So Einik, I'm so glad you mentioned that. The reason why it feels uncomfortable, and this is, I'm so glad that you mentioned this. This is a big thing. So your ego, for lack of a better way to label it, your ego will keep you in your routine, even if it's fucking miserable. Even if you're really not happy, your ego is so comfortable not having to deal with a change that might challenge it and its control, that it will keep you stuck. And that's why change it feels uncomfortable. It feels risky because we have this fear of the unknown. This is why people they clasp on to religion and different ideological indoctrinations because it's better to know something than nothing, right? Like that's where this comes from. But you can train yourself to get comfortable with the unknown, and you should. You can literally train yourself to be comfortable in the unknown, and then that discomfort from listen, the truth is, as uncomfortable as it is to try to do new things, doing the same thing over and over, it is like, you're tying your shoes together and you're going to try to run a race. You're going to trip and fall. It's not going to work out for you. You're going to have to do something new. So you have to get over the discomfort, because listen, your comfort zone will keep you hurting people. It will keep you from doing and making the changes that you damn well know you need to make in your life, whatever they may be. Everything begins at the end of your comfort zone. Nobody has changed anything in their life or on this planet without first exiting their comfort zone. And that's just a fact of the matter. And people are so stuck in their routines and their ways and their habits that they have no idea that the fucking parade is literally passing them by, because they don't want to look at it. They don't want to change. It's, even if they're fucking miserable, even if they're completely like not happy, discontent, whatever the word is, like, yeah, but if I did that, then I have to do that. And then they start thinking, and like, no, just do one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Take a step towards the change. Take a step towards the break in your deadly routine. Start small, and then be consistent. And if that's difficult, then I'm going to recommend the same thing that I always recommend to you guys, the thing that I rely on every single day of my life to maintain the amount of changes and evolution that I embark on. That is my passion, in learning and sharing information, that keeps me excited about life, and that is a whole array of different meditations that focus on different things. Some of them focus on abundance, but I very rarely do those anymore, because I know how to create in my life. I know what I am, and I'm no different than you. You all are a little divine individuation of the Creator itself, period. That is what keeps your heart beating, all 50 trillion cells in your body operating without a single thought from you. What a gift. What a miracle this human body is. Let me tell you something else what people never think about is, your mom turned the food that she ate for 9 months into you. How fucking crazy is that? Did you ever stop and think about that? Did you ever stop and think that everything that your mom ate for the 9 months that you were in the womb was converted into growing you? That is, I mean, that is, that's just unbelievable. That's like a miracle, a literal miracle. Like, how could the cheeseburgers, like the chicken, that's life is so amazing. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who thinks it's so incredible. I don't think people ever think about that, like, God, that was quite a tangent I went on. Your mom turned pizza into you. No, seriously. Let me read a comment here. For everyone just joining us, we were talking about some things before I went off on a tangent about. Thank you, Holly. That's very kind of you. Before I went off on a tangent about everything your mom ate for 9 months, which her body miraculously turned into you. I just think not enough people think about that little miracle. I think that is so profound that the human body has this ability. And what I started to say was, every single one of you, thank you, Missy Sue, Missy said, "You're the best. You get us thinking about things we never do." Thank you so much, Missy. You're too kind, and a great shot as well. Flowers. I'm trying to be more spontaneous. I read my high school yearbook, and what friends say to me is not me now. I'm trying to have more fun like old times. So, flowers, listen, you can slip right back into that mindset. And let me tell you what happens when you do. Because now this is not just me saying it, this is science. Maybe one or two of you have heard me tell this story, but this is true, right? They did this test. They took these I think they were 75-year-old men, 22 75-year-old men. And they were all born in the same year. So they're from a certain era, right? So the scientists knew what they grew up in, you know, what their thing was. Like I think it was like, I don't know, it was the 70s or what, but they took this monastery and they paid a lot of money to rent it, and then they decked it out in all the things that these guys had when they were like teenagers and in their young 20s, right? And these 22 guys, they did all these biometric scans and tests, and you know, they took all their measurements beforehand. They did cognition tests, they did finger length tests, they height, everything. They were very thorough. And then they told these 22 75-year-old men, bear with me, there was 22 of them, they were 75. Okay, we got that down. They told them that while they were here for this week, all they had to do was act 22. Act like they were 22 years old again. And for that week, the biometrics that they got back from these men completely changed from the men who arrived, the men whose measurements they took. They were an inch taller on average. They had more energy all day. They literally, they embodied their younger self, and they felt like their younger self. And their biometrical scans, including their height, all measured from like a different person. And that is just mind-blowing, you know, like, but you know, when they say things like, "Oh, you're only as old as you feel," well, those sayings come from something. So sometimes, flowers, you know, you got to slip back into that mindset and remember what it was like. And we can all gain from adopting a childlike mindset in many ways. I don't mean like, you know, throw tantrums and eat a lot of junk food. I don't know. We used to do things differently when I was a kid than I do now. But like, it's just, you know, like, if I'm going to try to remote view, the first thing I do is slip right into a child mentality. That is the only way I can remote view. If I try to remote view from like this adult fucking brain with all this crazy stuff going on that I talked to you guys about, forget about it. I would get nowhere. I would get nowhere and see nothing and sense nothing. I have to completely strip that away and just go into a childlike state, you know, just back up everything. And that's when I have success remote viewing. If I didn't do that, forget about it. It would be embarrassing to see the results. But so, you know, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, that's a book. And there's something to that expression. It's a great book. But it deals with even a Zen master has to remember that he has to, in order to be present, you have to approach with wonder. You know, you have to be willing to put your knowledge aside and allow information in. And a lot of people have trouble doing that as well, which is why they're stuck in their routine. So we come full circle, right? Let me see. Welcome to everybody joining us. I'm just talking about the pitfalls, and they can be grave, because remember, your routine is your lifestyle. So I cannot stress this enough. If you are not conscious of your daily routine and what it's doing to your body, mind, body, and spirit, you know, if you're just running a program day after day, or if you're just putting off that thing you know you should be doing day after day, that's a program. You're in a program. If you're waiting till tomorrow, you're in a program because tomorrow's never going to come. There is always going to be something, always, that comes up for you. And that is your resistance to change, your unwillingness to be uncomfortable enough to change. That is your resistance, and it is fierce. I mean, it is diabolical, and I don't like using words like that because they're too religious for me. But my point is, your subconscious will keep you stuck in the same patterns, the same routines until you transition into the next life. So you got to make a colossal effort at first to become conscious of those unconscious thoughts. As I always tell you guys, it is the key to your transformation. And you know, for people who are, I talked about this last week, people who are looking and striving and they're trying to manifest things in their life, but they haven't changed what the fuck they're doing every single day with themselves. Don't expect anything to change. How could it? If you're not changing first internally, and which will change what you're doing externally. But if you don't start here, there's nothing that can show up in your life. I mean, maybe in like 40 years, you know, there's a long road and there's a fast road. And what people always do, what I did for years, is I put the horse before the cart. You know, I was always too busy to meditate. I was always trying, you know, I had so many things to do. And so I would, you know, bemoan meditation and be like, I don't have fucking time for this. I gotta read like these 2 screenplays. I gotta work over this, all these lines. Like who has time for this shit? Which is fucking insane. It is, listen, when you think like that, you are putting the horse before the cart. Because the infinite amount of yous that could go about your day and the infinite amount of experiences that you can have during that day is a completely different set than the one that is the person who said, you know what, no, I don't have fucking time. I don't have time to do anything. I got to go to work. I got to do this. That person is going to have a completely different day than the person who woke up early enough to spend 45 minutes meditating to create their day, period. And so when you get home from your shitty day after having done your work and you feel even more unhappy than you were when you woke up and you were like, I got to get to work. I don't have time for anything else. What have you accomplished? Nothing. Nothing. And what have you changed? Nothing. Nothing. You got to get into the cogs, into the internal machinery if you're going to see changes in your life. And that starts by taking care of yourself. It starts by getting out of your routine. It starts by when you know you have to make a change in your life and you continue to put it off, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting other people in your life in ways that you won't be able to quantify until you transition and you get your life review, and then you're going to be right up against it for quite a while. Many of you, you know, and of course I'm not excluded. I like to think mine will be a little better than some people's, but you know, like every person who you affected with your choices, with your words, with your actions, you know, if you're someone who has to create high drama where none needs to happen because you insist on things being a certain fucking way and you won't budge on it, and you're going to be rigid and like, no, fuck that person. Like, listen, boundaries are important, but so is flexibility and flow, right? Like, if everyone is always having to change things just to accommodate you, then chances are you're the problem. And, that should go without saying, but unfortunately some people don't realize it, you know. Some people still think everyone else is the problem, and that's not usually the case. When you have the same set of people telling you the same things over and over and over, it's time to take stock. You know, the problem isn't with your relatives then. It could be, there's exceptions, but for the most part, the problem is starting with you, which would be obvious if we lived in the same world. But let's see, become like a child. Amen. Amen. Glean from anyone something. I like that. I like that. Voluntary self care equals healthy life. Flowers, now you're talking my language. So, Peace with Pam said just start with 5 minutes. That's true. Spend 5 minutes. Spend 5 minutes a day in quiet, or find a beautiful ambient sound that you can just lose yourself in. Because when I meditate, I literally put my focus on nothing. That sounds crazy, but think about what I'm saying. I put my attention on no thing, nothing. And the more you can put your attention on that nothing, you get really good at it. And that slows your brain waves right down and slips you right into the meditation. So the monkey, when you first start, the monkey mind is going to be like, you can't do this, you can't sit still. Oh my God, I have to pee. There's an itch. I have to do that. Like, the phone's going to ring. The dogs won't stop. There's going to be 100,000 reasons why you can't sit for another second. And that is your resistance. And that is your job to overcome that. And that's another key part of changing, right? But voluntary self-care, you won't find a bigger advocate of self-care than me. I don't believe that you can be happy in this life unless you're taking care of yourself. I don't care how healthy your whole family is. I don't care how many responsibilities you have. I don't care how many people you're taking care of. Again, you are putting the horse before the cart if you're not taking care of yourself, because at the end of the day, you're going to be fucking resentful. You're not going to truly be able to be present with the people who you're with, because you're going to be like, I didn't do a fucking thing for myself today. All I did all day was this, and this. For them, for that kid, for that person, for that spouse, for my uncle, for my aunt. Then my mom needed this. Then I had to go to work. I got back. I had to make dinner. I had to do the laundry. If that's all you're doing every day, all day, and you're not taking time in the morning to do yoga, to meditate, to watch the sun come up, to be in nature, to take a walk with your dog, to do something for your soul. If you're not doing anything to nurture your soul, you are going to be a miserable asshole, okay? Excuse my French, but that is the case. That is almost consistently the result. And people aren't really assholes. They're just stressed out. And stress will make you an asshole. And literally, you can't be like cool and concerned about people if you're stressed out. That's not the way the chemistry works. When you're stressed out, all the blood in your frontal lobe is receded. It goes to the extremities. You stop thinking. Your adrenal glands are like waiting to fire if they haven't already. You have tunnel vision. That's why, listen, I lived in New York City for 20 years, okay? Like, the people there, they're fucking maniacs. Because no one has told them that, they can be a minute late and the world's not going to end. So everyone is in a rush to get absolutely everywhere, which is why the horns never stop honking. The people never stop yelling at each other. They're all, they think that they're in traffic, and they are traffic, essentially, is the problem. There's no true sense of self. And it's New York City, so yeah, it has its pros and cons. But let me see what else I missed. Hey, my friend Ian joined. Welcome, Ian. Let me see, guys. Where were we? So I love handpan music to relax. So you guys, I wish I could. You know what I'll do? I post a screenshot of I have a coherent playlist. I call it coherent, but it's a bunch of songs that I put together that help me. Like if I need to open my heart, if I need a coherent heart and mind, if I'm going to do like a healing for someone, or if I'm going to do a CE5 contact, where you go out and you sit under the stars and you create coherence in your heart and mind, which is a very, very powerful signal that then sends out, and you can connect with your with our celestial, extraterrestrial family, extra whatever you want to call them. Some of them are extra dimensional. Um, you know, they're waiting. They're waiting to say hello to you. I promise you can do this. Anyone can do this. You know, there's a protocol called it's called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind because it's a human initiated contact, and it's a request that you put out with your heart and your mind. And the more coherent your heart and mind is, the stronger the signal is. And that doesn't just go for making contact with, you know, ETs who may or may not want to say hello to you, if it's safe for them to do so. But it also goes for whatever you want to manifest, whatever you want to bring into your life. The more coherent in heart and soul that you can be, you're going to be a fucking magnet for everything that's coming to you. And then you're going to be like, oh my God, so grateful. I'm so lucky. And that's going to generate even more of that feeling. The more grateful and happy and joyous that you walk around, the more the universe is going to give you reasons to be happy, joyous, and grateful. That is how it works, period. That's why you can't fake it till you make it. That's why you got to find a way to be truly grateful and to feel it. And to do that, you got to be able to open your heart. And a lot of people have blocked off at least portions of their heart. And that's a problem. It's going to be a problem when you go to manifest because you've cut yourself off from certain feelings. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to feel that. Thinking and feeling is cyclical. What you can use feeling as a barometer for have your thoughts gone astray? Because if you're suddenly like, I guarantee you that your thoughts have gone astray. If you keep your target on the joyous, right? On the things that make you grateful. And if you learn ways to tap into that, tap into the heart center, this center right here, then you're going to begin to override your signal with gratitude and joy, right? And that's going to change everything for you. It's going to change your interactions. It's going to change who you meet up on the street. It's going to change the amount of green lights you get, surprises, everything, you name it, right across the board. But you got to be willing to make the changes. You got to be willing to take a look at the things that you're doing that are not allowing more ease and joy in your life. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They give themselves a pass. They think they do just enough. But are you still evolving? And if not, then what are you doing? Like, what better game in town is there than your own evolution? The evolution of your soul. You're gonna have to do it. You're not. It's either this life or the next, or the next, or the next. It's all one journey. And this, you know, I'm right now I'm rereading Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts, The Validity of the Soul. Phenomenal, profound book. I read it 5 years ago, and I don't remember it blowing my mind the way it is now while I'm reading it. Maybe because I wasn't quite as astute, you know, with the knowledge I have. But it's a fantastic book. If you want to learn about incarnations and the soul, the indomitable, invincible, incredible spirit that is our consciousness, and how this notion that we ever die is this fear of death that we have is just, it's from a miseducation. It's from a true ignorance of what we are. And the truth is, what we are will never end and can never end. And if you knew that, if you truly knew that, you wouldn't be afraid to do anything in this life. If you understood how true that is about yourself, you wouldn't be scared of anything. You could take on anything because you know that you're just going to have another chance at it. It's like a video game, truly, except you get as many lives as you need. There's no end to this. There's no end to this. And the family you have in this life will probably be your family in the next. May not in the same arrangement, you know, but it's all going to be worked out. So this book is just incredible. If you guys, if you haven't read it, I can't recommend it enough. It's called Seth Speaks. by Jane Roberts. It's The Validity of the Soul. Profound book, really, really great. For let me see, have you? I haven't posted my playlist music, but I will, Flowers, when we get off. I'll take a screenshot. Um, and you guys know I'm, the a lot of the music that I use is from different composers who work with people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Anita Morjani, um, you know, Barry Goldstein is one of them. Very talented composers who have geared their life's work into these kind of sounds, and they're just, I don't know what I would do without them. The name of the book is Seth Speaks, by Jane Roberts. Now listen, Jane Roberts has a bunch of books about Seth. The one you want is called The Validity of the Soul. And that's the first book that Seth wrote through Jane Roberts. Seth is the name that he took. And that is all explained in the book. The fact that Seth is an entity who is channeling through Jane. So I love channel material. And I know it's not for everyone. I know some of you guys are like, channel material. Look, there's some phenomenal information out there that has come from channels, right? Channels like Bashar, is a well-known channel. Wendy Kennedy, I just had on. My dogs are crying outside my door. Just wait. I'll give you apples in a minute. Just love me for I'm always eating apples, and they love apples. Maybe it's the peanut butter. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So, like Neil Donald Walsh, his trilogy, Conversations with God. I'll do both, Flowers. Conversations with God is a phenomenal channeled book by Neil Donald Walsh, who I have met more than once and who I've had on my podcast. That's some of my favorite channel material. Jane Roberts. So like the first trance channel was Edgar Casey, right? Have you ever heard of the Sleeping Prophet? Edgar Casey, they have a whole institution now around that guy. But, he was kind of the first modern day human and he would kind of like just go to sleep, and then he would just talk and people would ask him questions and he had answers for everything. He like recorded everything that came out of that dude's mouth, and he was sleeping the whole time. That's a great job. It's pretty amazing. But he was like the first well-known, because the stuff he said, there was no way he had knowledge of it. Like, and then people came from everywhere, all around, just to talk to this dude while he was sleeping. It's quite a job. Jane Roberts, Abraham Hicks. Have y'all heard of the law of attraction? Hello. Abraham Hicks. Did you ever notice that Abraham Hicks is woman? Channel material. Abraham Hicks was written by Esther Hicks. Abraham is the name of the entity, of the collective entity that channeled the law of attraction through Esther. And Esther's story is fascinating because Esther Hicks, when her husband got a hold of, listen to this, Seth Speaks, Jane Roberts' book that's channeled, Esther had been raised very Catholic, and she forbade her husband, is that the right way to say it? She would not allow her husband to bring the book in the house because it was channeled. And of course, some Christianity, Catholics believe that it is dealing with the devil. She wouldn't let him bring it into the house. He had to read it on the porch, right? So finally he snuck it in the house and he read to her a portion of it. And she was like, "Oh my God, that was beautiful." And she was like, "What's that from?" And he was like, "It's from my book. It's from the book I'm reading that you make me read on the porch." And she couldn't believe it. She was floored because the sentences were so profound and so divine. She knew they could never have came from a demonic source. That's just superstitious bullshit that the church spreads to keep you from gaining knowledge. Don't you understand? It's all dogmatic garbage. Everything that they tell you that is fear-based is bullshit, because fear is false evidence appearing real. I just told you that you're fucking immortal, that you cannot end. What do you have to be afraid of? You are literally a little spark of God having a physical experience for the fun of it. And you all think you're here just like to like pad your bank accounts and like I don't know what everyone thinks they're doing here, but the things that we're taught from the time we're young, that's what this life is about, is completely fucking garbage. It will not serve you and you will not end up happy. Most of you. True happiness comes from self-love. I don't know how I went from channel material to lecturing you guys about... Anyway, let me finish what I was saying about... Thank you guys for bearing with me. So it's a crazy story, right? So then listen to what happened. This is so cool. So Esther Hicks started reading the book, and she loved it as much as I do. It's the book I was recommending a couple minutes ago. And her and Jerry, Jerry was the name of her husband. Her and Jerry called up Jane Roberts, the woman who, because at the time Jane was still alive. And they asked her about it. They were so excited and about it. And Jane encouraged them to start meditating first. And so they did, the two of them. Esther Hicks and her husband Jerry took 2 chairs and they put them back to back in one of the rooms, and they made it a meditation room. And for 9 months, they meditated together, right? And it's funny, a funny aside is Jerry would always say, yeah, we were supposed to be meditating, but Esther always sounded like she was having a little party with people behind me. It was always distracting. I was like, wow, that's interesting, right? So what Esther realized while she was in meditation was that her nose started to move on its own volition, and she figured out it was spelling things, and so Jerry was like, do you think you could move it to your hand, And she was like, I can try. And then so slowly but surely, she started to allow her hand to write the words. And then that evolved into her speaking. And you can look up videos of Esther Hicks speaking about the law of attraction, and you'll find millions of them. And an entity named... They only named the entity Abraham. It doesn't have a name because it's not an individual. It's a collective. Because Abraham was ironically, her favorite character in the Bible. You can't make this shit up. That's crazy, right? So the law of attraction was brought through Esther Hicks by a collective who told Esther that their primary function in their evolution, what they do, they're teachers, and they go around to physical beings who are ready, who are at the point of their evolution where they're ready to truly be exposed to the laws of this universe, the only laws of this universe, which are essentially cause and effect. It's just most people only think of cause and effect in terms of physics, when you should be thinking about it in terms of metaphysics, because that's the universe that we live in. That's what we should be teaching our youth, our young people, and the world would change overnight. And people like Bibi Netanyahu would no longer be in charge, creating chaos and bloodshed for all. And let me take some comments. How's everyone doing on this stream? Awesome. Welcome, you guys. So for everyone just joining, welcome, you guys. I'm just talking about the pitfalls of routine, because routine is lifestyle. And so there are grave consequences to you being stuck in your routine, particularly if it's not healthy. And people will go on and go on and go on until they get a diagnosis, until they get, some kind of crisis. And then they'll realize they have to change. And what I've learned through my work with Dr. Joe is, why would you wait? Why would you wait until... Good evening, Nacho. Good to see you again. Why would you wait? Why wouldn't you change in joy? Why would you wait for a calamity or a diagnosis to change what you know you need to change? And everybody has something they know they've been putting off that they need to change. And there's a lot of ways to do it. Sometimes we have to get over our subconscious program and that thing that wants to keep us comfortable, even if we're miserable. And that is a big challenge for a lot of people, right? Let me see if I have any comments here. Welcome, you guys. Welcome. I got a thumbs up from Holly. That's good. Thank you, Holly. Because think about, you've I mentioned this earlier. You've seen the memes, like your habits create your fate. People want to just give away their responsibility when it comes to everything. I mean, there are people who, are you going to talk about the psychic? Oh, yeah, morning. Thank you for the reminder. Ego is not your friend. The psychic's name is Christopher Laprath. I have his book. No, his book is packed. He's coming to my place next week. We're going to shoot a podcast right here, right on the table behind me. He's absolutely incredible. Where do you get a copy of this live chat on YouTube? So I'm broadcasting to YouTube right now on this camera. Thank you, this camera. I mean, YouTube people, for bearing with me. And because I don't have a lot of people just use one program to stream to everywhere, but I'm not that technologically savvy. So I use my iPad on one side and my phone on this side, and I just like double whammy it. Anyway, we have to know. Let me see what else I missed here. Where did you get? Okay, I got that. Ego's not your friend. Oh yeah, so his name is Christopher Laprath, right? And he wrote a book, just so you can kind of narrow him down. He has a website, and he wrote a book called What the Dead Fear. And it's about his childhood growing up with a very abusive father, in a very haunted house. Like, talk about a double whammy from freaking hell. And I'm like 100 pages into it. It's really good. It's exciting. It reminds me of some of the work I used to do in filmmaking when I worked on a film called The Conjuring, which is a smash hit of a. I'm not an advocate for horror films. I don't watch them anymore. But I was in film. I was an actor, and I had a chance to work on a studio picture, assisting a producer, and so I took it. And of course, I gave it 170 billion%, like I always do. And some of you have seen The Conjuring. It's a great movie. James Wan directed it, but it's about a haunted house and these paranormal investigators, and it's a great movie. It did a killing. Of course, then New Line. Where is that entity that channeled Esther from? So Don, they don't have a literal physical destination. They're a collective of beings who are, consciously and I'm sure cosmically in a lot of ways drawn to physical and non-physical species who are at the point in their evolution where they are spiritually evolved enough to be exposed to the teachings of this universe, which are the teachings of the law of attraction. It's the true laws of cause and effect. Another way that the scientists like to put it, since we live in a material world, is the law of resonance, right? They understand the law of resonance, and that's the two tuning forks. You bang one, and this one is going to start to do the same thing. Like attracts like. We know that, right? And so they really don't say where they're from. They don't even have a name. They let Esther give them the name Abraham because they know human beings, we like names, like, what do we call you? we need to call you something. So they're just like, yeah, well, but just call us whatever you want. She's like, okay, I'll call you Abraham. Because it was her hero in the Bible that almost kept her from allowing the book in the house to begin with. It's crazy, crazy world. Anyway, what else you guys got for me? Let me see here. We have to know more and more. So knowledge is out there, right? But you may have to break from your routine just to stay on my theme in order to gain it, right? Like I'm reading like 3 different books right now. It's crazy. Um, and I'm trying to read paper again. You know why? Because I was just reading all these studies how if you're reading on even the Kindle, it's not quite as bad, but the iPad and the phone, retention goes way down, like comprehension, um, and it's not good for your eyes, the blue screen. Yeah. Anyway, I try to get paper as much as I could. We have to keep that alive. Maybe convert it to hemp, but that's a whole nother podcast. Um, Tell me what else, guys. Do you guys have any questions? What can I repeat that I said earlier that maybe you're still hoping I say again? Um, How else can I be of service, my friends, on this beautiful Saturday night? Um, and by the way, thank you all for staying with me. I have about 2 minutes left before Instagram gives me my freaking prison curfew countdown. Real books help the imagination. They do, Truancy. They really do. They're so underrated. Um, Having paper. Like I love being able to write and take notes. Save your eyes, absolutely. I just went to the eye doctor. It was actually a lot of fun. I had to go through do all the tests, but the tests are so awkward. Um, how was my experience with the psychic? So morning, when my friend told me that this dude blew his mind, I was like, all right, I've met with, I've had many sessions with many psychics, and none of them have ever left me like, holy shit. Like, let me be honest. What do I do to stay in shape, Flowers? I do a lot of boxing and a little bit of weightlifting. Mostly boxing, though. Yeah, I do like weightlifting once or two, and I do cardio. Um, every couple of days. Well, boxing is a very intense cardio workout. Like, if I on Thursdays I'll burn about 700-800 calories sparring, um, and yeah, so that's that. What was the other question? Oh yeah, so morning. Um, I I've sat with many psychics. Let me be real with you guys, and I've never been like, wow. Like I've never been blown away. I've never been like, holy shit. No one has ever told me anything that I was like, how the fuck did you know? Really, how did you know that? Or what Christopher told me was one truth after the next about me that I was not even aware of until he told me. And that was mind blowing because you guys know me. I'm a fucking conscious cosmonaut, whatever they call them. Like I'm constantly digging and 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 trying to unveil layers of the onion that is my subconscious. And so when he hit me with some of the things he hit me with, my jaw was on the ground. I had tears in my eyes. He is immensely talented, and his star is just beginning to rise. He's booked, but so the name of his book is What the Dead Fear, and his name is Christopher Laprath. Fuck, my countdown timer just went off. So I have 1 minute 49 seconds remaining. Instagram is so stupid. Sorry, YouTube guys. They always do this to me. So he told me like some things that were so deep seated in my subconscious, and he told me where they came from, and it resonated with me, made a lot of sense, and there was a lot of things that I did not realize about myself that were true. I'll give you an example. Like he said, Faust. So I should preface this. He's not a typical psychic. His job and what his mission is to clear the old so that you can get to the new, to bring things up so that you can clear them for all time, right? And he'll tell you where they came from. But like one of the things was like, Faust, you you feel like you need to give to people. He was like, but you don't need to. And he was like, and I was like, fuck, like I do feel like I need to give to people. But he's like, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it has to be a conscious choice. If it's a need, then it's subconscious. Then it's like an addiction. It's a habitual, right? There's a difference. And I didn't realize that I had that program deep seated running in me, and I was just like, my mind was blown. Fuck! Now I have 15 seconds. I'm gonna run out of time, guys. Um, let me see. 10 seconds. I'm sorry, guys. I love you. Instagram sucks. I'm sorry to cut you guys short. Um, have a great weekend. God bless you all. Sorry, YouTube. I don't have a timer with you guys. Are you guys cool? Everyone chilling? You want me to keep talking? um, so yeah, his name is Christopher LaPrath. Very talented guy. Uh, really gifted. On a mission. And he told me things about myself that I was like, wow. I was like, holy shit. You know, I was floored. I mean, I'm still integrating what he told me, and this was weeks ago. So he's coming on my podcast in a week, and then we got to edit it. We'll put it out there, but we're gonna be. I'm gonna be like, you know, we've been like. He had a session with me, and we haven't stopped talking since. Like, you know, like we text each other. He's just really loving, and he cares about helping people. He truly cares, and it's his mission. You know, he thinks that like relaying messages about, you know, what your grandmother may or may not have had to say to you is important, but what's more important is your own evolution and clearing the old, you know, and that way you can gain the opportunities that are coming your way. But my lips are so dry I can barely talk anymore. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me and staying with me. And I so appreciate the time we spend together. And I love you guys all. And I'm wishing you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. God bless you.